So welcome to our session today. It's all about exploring the intersection of Drupal, UX and design here at CyberDuck, which I do know is a bit of a mouthful. Just as a quick introduction, my name's Dan. I'm going to be your host for today. I'm joined by two of our fantastic ducks with Siobhan, who's part of our design team, and Enrique as well, who's one of our developers here. And they're going to be taking you through different ways that we work and collaborate together here at CyberDuck, particularly between different teams to create great products for our clients. So I'm really, really excited to hear what they've got to say. Just before I pass on to them though, I've got a few introductory and house rules slides to go through. This will also just give a chance for late joiners to join us before we get into the main chunk of today's session. So just as a quick introduction to CyberDuck, and also I want to say a welcome to anyone who hasn't come to one of our webinars before. It's always great to see new faces joining us. So we're an award-winning agency based here in the UK, although we've very much got a global presence with offices in Germany, Spain, Portugal, as well as the US. And we've been building and supporting Drupal sites for 16 years now, actually longer than that, and actually are a proud preferred partner with Acquia. And what we do is we bring together user-centered design, strategy, content, and technology to build secure, accessible, and user-friendly platforms for our clients. And as you can see on the slides here, there's a few different companies we've worked with, from NHS to Bosch, Sport England, Planisware, who you're going to be hearing about today, GovUK, Oscar Kilo, again, you're going to be hearing about Oscar Kilo later today as well, and the Commonwealth as well. So these are really fantastic clients. They've got brilliant stories. You can check that out on our website. And I think with that being said, it'll be a great opportunity actually to meet our experts for today. So I'm first going to say a big hello to Siobhan. How are you today? Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at CyberDuck?
Yes, of course. Hello, Dan. Hello all. So my name is Siobhan and I'm a user interface and visual designer here at CyberDuck. So my role has always been to create visually engaging designs that are also accessible and user-friendly. However, in recent years, I've been helping bridge the gap between design and development when it comes to designing for Drupal.
Thank you so much for that. And Enrique, hello. How are you today? Again, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at CyberDuck?
Hey, Daniel. All good. Hi, Siobhan. Hello, everyone. My name is Enrique Worwa. I'm a technical leader for the Drupal team here at CyberDuck. I've been engaged with the Drupal community for 10 plus years as a software developer mainly, and I support the different teams within the company to deliver fantastic Drupal sites to our clients.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. We'll be going back to Siobhan and Enrique very soon. Just got two more slides to go through. So the actual presentation today is probably going to last around 25 minutes or so. So we've got plenty of time at the end for any questions you have for Siobhan and Enrique. If you want to ask them a question, best way to do this is using the Q&A function. So look at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Hopefully you should see a little Q&A button. Click that. Should pop up for you a little window and you can just type anything in there. And said, I'll ask that to Siobhan and Enrique towards the end of today's session. The full recording of today's session is going to go out early next week. So if for any reason you have to drop out, don't worry, we'll make sure that is in your inbox. And look, we love seeing your stuff on social media, whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn. So please feel free to put a post out there. And if you use the hashtag DrupalDuck, we'll be able to pick up on it and give it a like, a retweet, maybe even a share or comment. And one last thing from me is just around captioning. So if you do require captions, these are available. So we use automated captions. If they're not already turned on, you should hopefully see a little bit of at the bottom of your screen, a transcript button. Click that, and then again, they should pop up for you. And look, we know automated captions, they're good, but they're not perfect. So we do make sure that the on-demand version of the webinars are provided with manually edited captions as well. And that's it from me for now. So I think I'll pass it on to Siobhan to get started.
Thank you, Dan. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the term user experience or UX by now, but just to set the scene and get everyone on the same page, according to the Nielsen Norman Group, user experience refers to all aspects of the end user's interaction with a company, its services and its products. UX is all about designing meaningful and relevant experiences to help people reach their goals in an easy and enjoyable way. This is vital for websites, apps, any digital platform to succeed. So to achieve this, user-centered thinking must be integrated through every step of the design and development process. A UX framework provides a roadmap for designing user experiences. It lays out the steps of the UX process and gives direction to the project. So what do we mean by UX? What is user-centered design? Well, it starts with, firstly, user research. First and foremost, one of the most useful things you can do is speak to your users, get their feedback on site features and what they struggle with, observe how they use your site. There are many different ways to do user research, whether they be interviews or surveys, but the goal is always the same, to find out how your users are feeling and what they're thinking, what they need to do, whether they're able to complete their tasks easily and comfortably when using your product. Letting go of any assumptions that you may have about how the interface is working and just let their feedback just guide you. Second, analytics, looking at a website's analytics and seeing which pages are being visited and which aren't. Look at the time spent on parts of the site, the drop-off rates and where this is happening. Is there dead weight that can be removed or improved the user journey? And three, finally, content review. Reviewing and auditing your website content is essential. Do you have any outdated content on your site that could be removed or changed? Is it written clearly? Is it readable? Is it accessible? Has it been checked by both subject experts and users to get a widest possible range of inputs? You may have challenges with each of these individually. For instance, maybe the analytic tracking hasn't been set up properly, or you may not be able to do in-depth user research or have a dedicated resources for some of these activities. But even small attempts are a great starting point and can contribute to getting an idea of what works on your website and what doesn't. So user experience design isn't just important for the end user, it brings benefits to everyone working on the build, particularly the development teams. So let's look at some of the benefits for when the development team is involved in the UX phase. First, a clear roadmap. In the design phase, we use wireframes, visual guides where designers show the different elements and components, how these will be laid out for intended pages and what the user journey could potentially look like. We use these to facilitate discussions with the project team, test layouts, screen flows for the users. As the project progresses, we add visual details and UI elements and iterate on these. The iterations reflect user research and usability testing, as well as the technical discussions within the project team. They provide a strong foundation for a build because they show you what you need to achieve as a developer and how to get there. Developers can also be confident that all the design elements are there for a reason. Second, it can save your time and sanity. Without taking a user-centered approach from the beginning, issues might be uncovered further down the line because it's not meeting the needs of your product end users. For example, we may realize the information architecture doesn't quite work, or perhaps the menu is too confusing and the users aren't able to complete their tasks, which dev would then have to fix retrospectively. Twice the work, twice the time. But with a strong UX approach from the beginning, this is far less likely. There are also many factors to think about when creating a website, from responsiveness to accessibility. If you have a dedicated team in your business, it's usually best to rely on the specialists so that everyone is working towards their strength. The UX team are there to help developers focus on their work, knowing the best user experience is being created. Easier conversations. Insights gathered from the UX process can also lead to easier and more focused conversations because you have a solid reasoning behind every aspect of the design and build. This makes it much easier to answer questions you'll face from stakeholders or clients around why is it the way that it is. Also, if there are any last-minute changes or things that contradict the research, you're in a much stronger position to have those challenging conversations. And finally, collaboration. Collaborative environments also mean knowledge sharing and better relationships. It provides opportunity for open communication, bringing in multiple perspectives, new ideas and insights from different sides. When the teams are blended from an early stage, everyone can learn from each other and develop a stronger working relationship. And it's from that need for a smoother, more efficient collaboration, the mother file concept was first created. We wanted a place or one point of truth for both designers and developers to collaborate from, a way of making the design development handover easier and more effective. So introducing the mother file, or mother for short, so called because it's a source place where all our designs originate from. So what is the mother file? The biggest change from a design perspective is that we began looking at pages in components or blocks rather than whole templates. The designs were broken into their component parts instead of entire pages. We found the conversation flowed better between the teams working like this. So we thought, what if we build on this? Let's explore the tools that would help automate this process. And then let's see if we can take this process on other projects. So this is Planisware. Planisware is a great example of this process. The company Planisware is a global provider of software solutions for portfolio management. And it's the project that both myself and Enrique worked on using the mother file. The thinking behind the mother file has always been present at CyberDuck, but it's this way we found a way to formalize the working process. So essentially the file is a repository on Figma. It's a single point of truth where UX, UI, and dev teams can all work together. It contains basic ready-made wireframes of around 50 different components that are needed when building a Drupal site, things that we use regularly. This way, the baseline user-centered thinking behind the components is already done, incorporating best practices, and we don't have to redesign and recreate new wireframes each time. Of course, not everything is included in the mother file, but this gives the team the time to focus on customizing these baseline components to better fit the user needs and requirements for the project, or look at other unique elements instead of having to design and build the same components over and over again. So once the initial wireframing is complete, the visual designer, me, can then apply the required visuals such as colors, fonts, branding, making the wireframes quickly come to life. The dev can then identify the elements and components needed to make these wireframes into final functioning sites and take these out the component kit to configure them. It's easy sometimes during a standard design phase to forget to include those frustrating but essential little details like footers, copyright, and legal notices, but all these are contained within the mother file, so they're not forgotten and devs don't have to go back to the designers to request them. Of course, we're looking at things in terms of individual components, but clients don't necessarily think that way. They prefer to see the whole picture. The mother file makes it easy for us to illustrate that to them. So the designers can create some key pages, taking ready-made wireframes and putting in the images, the text, the styling, and then we can show it to the client to give them a more accurate picture of how the site will look and operate. Previously, we'd have hiccups when transferring the designs over for development. With the mother file, there is no single handover. Instead, the teams are constantly collaborating through the entire process. The UXers, the UI designers, the dev, and the clients all have access to the file and can leave questions and comments. It becomes a one-stop resource containing all the information and updates from the entire project. There is no us and them. Everyone is collaborating throughout and working towards the same goal. The mother file is not static though, it's constantly changing and evolving and can be tailored to individual projects. And if I'll hand over to Enrique to talk a little bit more about collaboration.
Thanks, Siobhan. So we talk about how collaboration between the UX, the design, and development team has improved internal processes here in CyberDuck. But how can this collaboration be improved? So at CyberDuck, we started to bring the developers into the initial UX audits and the user research sessions. So this way, the development team gain insight into the user's needs right from the beginning of the project. And then the three teams, UX, design, and development, we participated in the decision-making process, preventing potential frictions in the future. So while building the Oscar website, which is one of our clients, the Drupal team was working on an idea on how to take this collaboration even further. So we noticed that there was a series of components that we could reuse across the different sites. And we decided to create a new internal project. We call it the component kit, which is a Drupal module that ships with a list of pre-built components by default. These components are maps to the one that the UX and design team defined in the model file. So we made sure that the three teams were all talking the same language. So for example, in here, you can see a particular component. We call it to column and text image block, and all this life cycle from wireframing to final implementation. So in the image number 1, for example, you can see the wireframe from the component. Image number 2, you can see the same component going through the design phase. And image 3 and 4 are the final implementation, the real website. In the left, you have the component implemented for the Oscar website. In the right for Discord camp. So from here, I would like to highlight a couple of things. First, it was very positive that little changes were needed from design to final build, thanks to the close collaboration between all the teams. And also notice how the same component can be designed in completely different ways from different projects. So the UX and design team still can be creative while working on a development-friendly way. We here at CyberDog, we use a layout builder as our default layout solution. This just because layout builder is included in Drupal core, and we believe this is where the majority of the effort from the community is going to be driven to. So, for example, in here, you can see a list of blocks or components that are included in our component kit. There's a campaign block, there's a content section block, and so on. We don't include all of the components in all of our sites. In fact, we have learned from experience that the fewer components we include in a given project, a given website, the better the user experience is for content creators and for end users as well. So collaboration is the key word from this presentation, and we think it should be part of the company culture rather than just a bunch of process. So the different teams should sit together and constantly review how they approach this collaboration. Since we started this process in CyberDog, we learned some valuable lessons that we would like to share with you. First, as developers, we need to understand what are the users want, what are the users need, and the expectation and the difference between these. This is going to help both to guide and limit the project from the beginning. The developers team should be included in the initial UX and design stage right from the beginning, which leads to the next point, which is a strong integration between teams is crucial, especially if you're remote working. Using tools like Figma, Miro, or Modify, it allows us to share ideas and provide comment and feedback, even in real time. This leads us to communication. The constant flow of information between the team is key to deliver successful projects. Don't just assume that developers and designers will understand what the other know or what the other thinking or doing. Collaborate, communicate. By doing regular stand-ups, show and tells, and meetings, the UX, design, and developer teams will stand up to date with the work, what other teams are doing in the project. This might lead to a good handover or no handover at all. So a design handover shouldn't be treated like a relay race where the design is just handed over from the design team to the development team and they just disappear. Through close collaboration, a handover might not even be needed because since all the teams are aware of the latest status of the project, there's a minimal handover that is required. And all of the teams members, because of the close collaboration, they can reach to each other in case there's anything that needs clarification or conversation, or even if there's a change in scope. Next, we learn about visual reference. I think this is crucial. We all know about this. Detailed visual reference, such as the Figma wireframes that we showed in the beginning in the Modify, provide a clear roadmap for the development team, and it's always better than just reading documentation alone. Agile working, I think this is a buzzword in development work, right? So a major benefit of agile working is that you can iterate a solution within the team and with the client. So during early phases of UX, the development team should give feedback to the design and UX team on how to produce a better product to be handed to the development team. So, for example, why should the UX and design team work on a brand new login page when you use the Gene login module, for example? But then how the design and the UX team will provide such solutions if they're not aware of it? And this leads us to our final lesson, which is to educate others. I think this is very important. The development team is responsible to educate everyone in the company, not only the UX and design team, but everyone in the company on how to basically use Drupal. So here at CyberDog, we are doing a series of things to support this. We host regular lunch and learn sessions. So those who are interested on how Drupal works can learn more. The leads from the development team, the UX and design, we have a weekly retrospective to constantly review our process and find points of improvements. The development team, we run short sessions to demystify Drupal as part of our company bi-weekly meeting, and other departments do the same. This means, even if it's true that we are becoming increasingly special these days, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn from other areas of expertise. Even more when these areas overlap with the work that you do daily in a daily basis. So this is the list of key lessons that we learned so far in this journey. This is a process that started a few years ago and is still ongoing. We are constantly reviewing and improving as part of our culture. So we hope that you can bring some of these lessons to your organization. Siobhan?
Yes. So what we've learned over time is that the more websites you create, the more you'll find you're repeating yourself. Stop doing that. Create a great starting point and keep iterating and making it better. By keeping the communication lines open, by continuing to develop our component kit and the mother files for designers and developers to work from, we continue to strengthen and collaborate our collaboration process, empower both developers and designers to deliver their best work and enjoy a smoother working relationship. And that's the power of exploring intersection of Drupal development and design at CyberDuck.
Thank you so much for that, Siobhan, and thanks so much for that, Enrique. That was amazing to hear, and it's really great to see the different ways that our teams work together. So yeah, I think we'll jump into some questions, and something that I wanted to start with asking both of you is that, obviously we're now a little way from the pandemic when we were working remote first, but as an agency, we are, we work in a hybrid way. So I guess for both of you, how have you found it collaborating while working remotely, and particularly between different departments? Are there any kind of challenges or any recommendations you can make to our audience? Enrique, can I start with you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think first at CyberDuck, we always been very good at remote working. Me personally, my position is remotely, so I'm not in London, and there's challenges, of course. But because of this approach to be part of the culture of the company, it makes it just way easier. And when we started using these tools like Figma, for example, that allow us everyone to just jump in and discuss a wireframe through a Zoom call and make comments and provide feedback in real time, that helps, to overcome this situation. So for me personally, minor impact, working remotely, and a lot of improvement that we have done across the these 2-3 years where we've been working more collaboratively. Any to add, Siobhan?
Not really. I suppose I'm just going to echo what Enrique has just said. I think because CyberDuck has always been a hybrid company, we have people all over the world. It's always been sort of ingrained in our culture from the get-go.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear. And maybe jumping back into the kind of tools, and particularly, I guess, Figma, because obviously, something we've shown throughout this presentation. I mean, Siobhan, maybe to start with you, what is it about Figma that, you love to use? Are there any other design tools that you're currently using within your toolkit as well, maybe particularly while working on Drupal projects?
I mean, interestingly enough, before Figma, yes, I would have many different tools. I'd be using a lot of Adobe suites, Illustrators, Photoshops, all sorts. But Figma is so intuitive. It has so many options that we no longer need multiple different tools. We can do it all from Figma now, which just makes it a lot smoother and a lot easier for everyone.
Okay. Maybe for Enrique, as a developer, do you have any input on the Figma design files? Are you able to go in there and provide your kind of recommendations or notes directly? How do you get involved, maybe not day to day, but get more involved with those design files?
Oh yeah, definitely. First, as I mentioned before, something that we're doing now is that we bring the development team to the project as soon as possible. It means that while the UX and design team are working together, producing the design of the site, we participate on those conversations, even with the client. Second, we have access to these tools, Figma, for example, and the collaboration continues. We don't need to sit down together, to collaborate or being in a Zoom call. We can use the design in the Figma file and just provide comments on top of it. And it's really cool because you can, for example, select an individual component and ask questions to Siobhan or make a recommendation, ask for clarification. So I think that part of the process is very smooth for me as a developer. I think the whole team would share the same idea. It's been very, very convenient. Yeah.
And maybe jumping onto that as well from a client perspective, and I know obviously neither you are account managers, but have you ever had the clients getting involved with, I guess, feedback directly on the components before they're constructed into a page layout?
Yes, absolutely. And I must admit, at first, I found it quite daunting that the client could see into my Figma file when working, especially in my exploration pages when it's just a bit of a mess. But I actually found it really useful, really, really useful. So we present all the art direction before we even get to finalizing individual components. So what we'll do is we'll show an art direction to a client through Figma, which they can comment on, question on. We'll do a little show and tell before we finalize any components.
That's a great answer to that. I've got a question here that I'd like to ask as well, which is, do you feel that this approach can lead to having cookie cutter websites? And again, how do we make sure that we're not just having a lot of websites that look the same, that we're making sure that there is a, still a creative element to what we bring to new, the different clients that we work with. Again, it'd be good to hear both of your kind of, thoughts on this. Maybe Siobhan, start with you, and then Enrique, great to hear me on that as well.
I mean, in truth, it is definitely a concern. It definitely pushes us to perhaps think a little bit more creatively and outside the box. So we don't have repeating websites or cookie cutter websites. We really don't want that. But it just means we just have to think a little bit more outside the box. And what it also allows is that we can perhaps focus more on bespoke or unique components because we've already got the baseline, we've already got the basic stuff covered. It means we have more time now to spend on the more unique specialist components.
Yeah, I would say on top of that, definitely, this was a major topic of conversation when we started this collaboration process. But I think after some years doing this, it's been proven that we are not limiting the design or UX team. If something, it has improved in a way that we provide feedback sooner to the wireframe, for example, and we make suggestions on how to better work with Drupal. Those who are Drupal developers know that sometimes simple stuff in Drupal can become very complex. So if we are aware of that and we provide that feedback sooner in the design stage, we avoid these frictions on the building stage. So it's a major concern, but it has been proven that it's not a problem. On the other hand, it brings a lot of benefits.
Yeah, that's a brilliant answer. And I think there's a lot there that's true. We've spoken about before in previous webinars around low code and actually using that to streamline some of the repetitive tasks. And this is just, I guess, another way to kind of do that, to make sure that actually you're getting that extra time to then do the more innovative things rather than just going through the same processes again and again. So that's brilliant answers for both of you. I think I'm just going to round off with one more question that's potentially more for Enrique, which is just around, if there's ever times when you need to, make upgrades or changes to old components that are on existing sites, how easy are you finding this to do?
Well, that's a good question. This module, the component kit, was developed in-house. So we are trying to treat it as any other Drupal module. We keep it updated in-house, and we can use Composer to update the component. So it's not limited in the sense that because it's a Drupal module and we know Drupal, we can easily extend it. So we can, there's always a need for a new component, or there's an opportunity to improve any of the components that already exist in the component kit. So what we do is just a regular development cycle as any other Drupal module. We propose the updates within the team, we discuss it, we make decisions on what the best way to approach a certain feature is. And then developer, depending on the decision, we just code a developer and the regular stuff. Pull request, someone's going to approve it, merge it, create a new version, and then the new version is going to be available across all of the projects. That's something that we're working on. We're still not that mature that we're going to get there. But yeah, it adds a little bit of extra work for us. But on the other hand, it saved a lot of work later. So
that's a great answer to that. And I think I'm going to wrap it up there. It's been a fantastic presentation. You know, I've learned a lot, and I hope everyone who's joined us today has learned a lot as well. So just again, a big thank you to both yourself, Siobhan, and Enrique, for sharing all this insight. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today and for your questions. You know, it's always great to get more involved with the Drupal community. If you want to reach us on social media, you can hopefully see on the slide our Twitter handle, cyberduck_UK, and as well we're on LinkedIn with linkedin.com/company/cyber-duck. Obviously, please visit our website. You can see some amazing other insights on Drupal. We've got previous webinars that, you know, do catch up with. And with that, I'll say thank you again and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.